Platinum Wheel of Fortune is the second episode of the first season of the Sylvester and Tweety Mysteries, and I do think this one is better than the previous one, but I'm still not loving it, which is a shame because Sylvester and Tweety are two of my favourite Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies characters. I think this is a better constructed narrative, and we have some more interesting characters, and I'll talk about those in a moment, but it's still not appealing to my tastes personally, so there will be some brief spoilers as I discuss what this is about and also one of the characters that it introduces. But other than that, I'm not going to spoil what happens at the end, just in case you want to watch it. Do I recommend it? Yes, if you're a Sylvester and Tweety fan, to come to your own conclusion, but I won't be watching it again myself. This one takes place in Monte Carlo, and Granny is there to take part in the Grand Prix, and she is framed for stealing this roulette wheel, the platinum wheel in the title, and it's all about trying to evade being captured for something that she didn't do. We, of course, assume that she didn't do it because it's Granny, why would she? And also, the race itself is something that's still going to be happening. Will Granny be able to compete, and what role does Sylvester and Tweety play? Well, it's not just Sylvester and Tweety. We also have Pitu Le Pew, who is Pepe Le Pew's cousin. And I didn't mind the character. The character interacted with Sylvester very much the way Pepe Le Pew would interact with Sylvester. We know how Sylvester reacts, or Pepe Le Pew reacts rather, around characters he perceives to be female skunks. And of course, Sylvester being black and white kind of looks a bit like a skunk. So I didn't mind that, but it just felt more like a vehicle to have this character featured. And I didn't dislike the character. I just didn't really care for the character. I didn't feel like it added anything interesting, and they may as well have just used Pepe Le Pew and it would have worked just as well. So, I don't know, I didn't love that aspect, but I feel like it wouldn't surprise me if they said, we want an episode that features this character and then built the narrative around the character. That being said, this would have worked without that character, which I realise sounds contradictory, but the point there is that we get a lot of focus on the character, but I don't think it adds a lot of value to the episode. Maybe that's just me. Maybe other people really love the character. The narrative itself does flow well enough. The pacing is okay, and the animation is pretty great. We have some pretty good bits of animation. I'll mention with a spoiler warning a few specifics in a moment that I did enjoy. So there were bits in this that I did think were not too bad, and I would say that I enjoyed them. But as a whole, I didn't care for it. Part of it is because it's just not my kind of story. But that being said, I love Sylvester and Tweety, so that should have been enough to keep me engaged, and unfortunately, it just wasn't. I will continue with the series. I will watch a couple more at least, and then I'll decide from there whether I want to make it a weekly thing or if I want to maybe give it a bit of a break and come back to it later and see how I feel. I'll decide after maybe one or two more episodes, but I didn't love it. I will go ahead with an open mind for the next one, but I'm not expecting much. I will now, though, with a spoiler warning, mention a few bits of animation that I love. This isn't really going to spoil anything in any great detail, but it's worth mentioning them anyway. The first one is when Granny's on the bed and it's spinning around. I just loved how that was done. Very simple and effective. I also loved the actual race, the designs of the cars, the colour palette there was very attractive. We get a couple of close-ups of Tweety, which I thought looked pretty great, and they were very well done. The animation of Granny and Tweety and Sylvester is exactly what I would have hoped it to be, so that's not an issue at all. I think for me it's just partly not very interesting narratives in terms of my personal preference, but also not the best way, for me at least, to utilise these characters. I just don't think the characters fit in well with these stories, but we'll see going forward. Maybe my opinion will change. I hope it does. But for now, Platinum Wheel of Fortune was an improvement on the previous episode, but I still didn't love it.